The Galactic Council's emergency broadcast crackled across every military frequency in known space, and what they said made absolutely no sense whatsoever. Code Crimson. All forces retreat from Sector 7 immediately. Human diplomatic vessel approaching with an unauthorized biological weapon. Repeat, retreat immediately. This is not a drill. Admiral Kethron of the Vraxian Empire couldn't believe what he was hearing. His fleet had been sieging the human colony of New Perth for 3 solid weeks. They were winning. The humans were down to their last defensive platforms, their supplies were running critically low, and victory was perhaps 48 hours away at most. And now High Command was ordering a full retreat because of a single diplomatic vessel. Biological weapon? His second officer, a grizzled veteran named Torvik, pulled up the scan data on the approaching ship. Sir, that's a civilian transport, barely armed, maybe carries a crew of 5 at most. What kind of biological weapon could possibly? The transmission cut in again, but this time it wasn't the measured tones of Galactic Command. It was screaming, pure, absolute terror from a Vraxian destroyer that had moved to intercept the diplomatic vessel. It's inside the ship. Oh gods, it's purring at me. Get it away. IT's eyes are glowing in the dark and it keeps. The transmission dissolved into sounds that Kethron had never heard before in his 40 years of military service. Was that cooing? No, please. I'll give you treats. Just please stop rubbing against my leg. I can't. The cuteness, it's overwhelming. Then silence. What in the 9 hells was that? Kethron demanded. He'd seen soldiers face down plasma fire with less fear in their voices. The diplomatic ship was broadcasting now. Standard human frequencies. The face that appeared on screen was young, maybe mid-30s in human years, with an easy smile and wearing what appeared to be a completely civilian sweater with small animals printed on it. Not a uniform in sight. Hello, this is Daniel Park of the Human Diplomatic Corps. I understand there's been some confusion about our cargo. I'd like to request permission to board your flagship for immediate negotiations. I promise this will resolve everything peacefully. The human paused, then glanced down at something off-screen. Oh, and I'm bringing Mr. Whiskers. He's very excited to meet everyone. Mr. Whiskers? Torvik pulled up the biological scan data. Sir, according to these readings, that's a Terran Felis catus. They're bringing a cat. The word meant nothing to Kethron. Earth fauna hadn't exactly been high priority in military briefings. Is it dangerous? Dangerous. Torvik's scales had gone pale. Sir, I served with a human contingent during the Kelmar uprising. One of their officers had one of these creatures. I watched it make a battle-hardened Kelmar warrior, a species that breathes methane and considers lava refreshing. I watched it make him break down sobbing because he couldn't pet it enough. The Kelmar declared a ceasefire just so he could spend more time with the animal. Kethron stared at his second officer. You're telling me that our entire invasion force is being threatened by a small Earth predator that makes people want to pet it? It's worse than that, sir. Torvik was scrolling through classified files now, his hands shaking slightly. There are reports here from every major conflict in the last century. Humans keep bringing these creatures to war zones. Not as weapons, at least not officially, but as emotional support animals. Except wherever they appear, hostilities cease within days, sometimes hours. There's a documented incident where a 3-way battle between humans, Korthans, and Zelvari completely stopped because a cat wandered onto the battlefield, and all 3 sides simultaneously declared a truce to protect it from harm. The Admiral felt a cold dread settling into his chest. Are they telepathic? Some kind of mind control? No, sir. That's what makes it worse. They're not using any technology or psionic abilities. They're just that effective. Torvik pulled up an image, and Kethron saw it for the first time. Small, quadrupedal, covered in fur, with enormous eyes and a tail. It looked utterly harmless, almost absurdly so. Another transmission burst through. Another Vraxian ship. The captain's voice was thick with emotion. Command, this is the destroyer Relentless. We've established visual contact with the diplomatic vessel. The cat is visible through their viewport. It's looking at me. Direct eye contact. And it just slowly blinked. Both eyes. At the same time. I don't know what to do. I want to protect it. I need to protect it. How is this possible? All ships. Fall back to defensive positions. Kethron ordered, but even as he did, he knew it was too late. The human vessel was broadcasting a live feed now, and there it was. Mr. Whiskers. Orange and white fur, green eyes, sitting calmly in the pilot's lap, and the cat yawned. It was the most devastating military maneuver Kethron had ever witnessed. The small pink tongue, the tiny fangs, the way its eyes squeezed shut in apparent contentment. Across his bridge, he heard groans of psychological defeat. One of his tactical officers actually whispered, "It's so fluffy." "Sir," Torvik said quietly, "the humans have weaponized cuteness itself, and we have no defense." The diplomatic vessel was requesting docking permission, and Admiral Kethron, veteran of 17 campaigns, conqueror of 6 systems, knew with absolute certainty that his invasion was over. All because of a cat. 12 hours earlier, Daniel Park had been in his small apartment on Earth, enjoying what was supposed to be his day off. "Come on, buddy, just get in the carrier. Please." He was crouched on his bathroom floor, trying to coax Mr. Whiskers out from behind the toilet. "I know you hate this thing, but we talked about this. Humanity needs us." Mr. Whiskers, a magnificently fluffy orange tabby with attitude to spare, stared at him with the contempt that only a cat can truly achieve. The rescue shelter had warned Daniel that this particular cat had personality, which Daniel had quickly learned was code for, "We'll knock everything off your counters while maintaining eye contact." But he was perfect. Daniel's holocom buzzed. His supervisor's face appeared, looking haggard. "Park, please tell me you're on your way. The situation at New Perth is deteriorating rapidly. The Vraxians aren't responding to any traditional diplomatic overtures. We've lost 17 ships trying to break the blockade. The colony is down to emergency rations. I'm coming. Just having some minor technical difficulties with my co-diplomat." "You're what?" At that moment, Mr. Whiskers decided the carrier wasn't so bad after all, sauntering into it with the casual grace that cats somehow managed even when being completely infuriating. Daniel quickly closed the door before he could change his mind. "Never mind. En route now." His supervisor pinched the bridge of her nose. "Daniel, I know you're good at your job. Your success rate with alien negotiations is frankly unprecedented. But the Vraxians are different. They're a military empire. They don't do sentiment. They don't do compromise. They respect only strength, and right now they think we're weak. That's exactly why Mr. Whiskers is coming with me. The cat. You're bringing the cat to a war zone." Dr. Chun brought her therapy dog to the Andorian conflict, and it ended a 20-year war in 6 days. Lieutenant Morrison brought his cat to the frontier disputes, and both sides agreed to joint custody of the feline in question, which required them to maintain permanent peace. Cats work, boss. They always work. Those were small-scale conflicts. This is a full siege. Daniel was already heading to the spaceport, carrier in hand. Mr. Whiskers meowed indignantly from inside. "Small-scale, large-scale doesn't matter. There's something about cats that transcends species barriers. We've tested it. Every sentient race we've encountered has the same neurological response to feline features. The big eyes, the soft fur, the vulnerability mixed with independence. It triggers protective and nurturing instincts that override aggression. The Vraxians are reptilian. They don't even have fur. Doesn't matter. We've had success with reptilian species before. Remember the Saurian Concordat? They literally rewrote their military doctrine after meeting Ambassador Tabitha. He paused at a security checkpoint, flashing his diplomatic credentials. "Look, traditional diplomacy isn't working here. The Vraxians think we're soft because we value life over conquest. So I'm going to show them exactly how soft we are, and why that's actually our greatest strength." The holocom showed his supervisor opening her mouth to argue, then closing it again. "Fine. But Daniel, if this goes wrong, if they hurt that cat, I don't think I need to tell you what humanity will do. They won't hurt him. Daniel boarded the shuttle to the orbital station. That's the point. They won't be able to. The journey to New Perth took 6 hours at maximum burn. Daniel spent the time reviewing what intelligence they had on Vraxian psychology and letting Mr. Whiskers explore the small ship. The cat had adapted to zero gravity remarkably well, performing barrel rolls through the cabin and pouncing on imaginary prey with the enthusiasm of a creature utterly unaware that he was currently humanity's secret weapon. "You know what you are, buddy?" Daniel asked, watching Mr. Whiskers bat at a floating pen. "You're proof that evolution favors the adorable. 10,000 years ago, your ancestors wandered into human settlements. They didn't have to fight or hunt or do anything useful. They just had to be cute and hunt the occasional mouse. And humans were like, yes, please live with us forever. We'll give you food and warmth and love." Mr. Whiskers caught the pen and bit it victoriously. "And now here we are, using that same evolutionary advantage on a galactic scale. Humans figured out that in a universe full of weapons and warriors, sometimes the most powerful thing you can bring to a conflict is something small and fuzzy that makes everyone remember why they're fighting in the first place." As they approached the New Perth system, Daniel could see the Vraxian fleet on his scanners. Hundreds of ships, all military grade, all positioned to destroy the colony the moment the defensive shields failed. His little diplomatic vessel, by contrast, could barely survive a solar storm, let alone actual combat. "All right, Mr. Whiskers. Time to save the day." The cat, sensing the shift in Daniel's tone, jumped into his lap and started purring. It was a deep, rumbling sound that somehow made the entire universe feel safer. Daniel opened all broadcast channels. "This is Human Diplomatic Vessel Olive Branch to all Vraxian forces. I'm requesting immediate cessation of hostilities and permission to board your flagship for negotiations. I'm bringing a representative of Earth's most effective peacekeeping force." The response was skeptical, then alarmed, then panicked as various Vraxian vessels tried to scan his cargo, and their databases started returning information about cats. "They're not ready for you, buddy," Daniel whispered, scratching behind Mr. Whiskers' ears. "Nobody ever is." And with that, he set course directly for the Admiral's flagship, history's fluffiest diplomatic mission well underway. The docking bay of the Vraxian flagship Supremacy was designed to intimidate. Massive, lined with weapons platforms, and filled with battle-ready soldiers in full armor. Admiral Kethron had assembled an honor guard of his most hardened veterans, each one standing at attention with weapons at the ready. It was, Daniel reflected as the airlock opened, complete overkill for one human and a 10-pound cat. "I am Admiral Kethron, Supreme Commander of the 7th Fleet." The Vraxian was impressive, 8 feet tall, scales that looked like natural armor, eyes that could track multiple targets simultaneously. "You will surrender New Perth immediately, or—" Mr. Whiskers stepped out of the carrier. The effect was instantaneous. Every Vraxian soldier's aggressive posture faltered. Their eyes, all 4 of them on each soldier, locked onto the small orange creature picking its way delicately across the metal floor of the docking bay. What is that?" one soldier whispered. "It's so small," another breathed. Mr. Whiskers, apparently deciding that this new environment was acceptable, sat down and began washing his face with one paw. The gesture, the pink tongue, the careful grooming, the absolute contentment, rippled through the assembled soldiers like a shockwave. Daniel watched an alien warrior, a creature bred for battle across hostile worlds, slowly lower his plasma rifle and whisper, "But what if it gets hurt?" "Gentlemen," Daniel said calmly, "meet Mr. Whiskers. He's a rescue cat from Earth. I adopted him 6 months ago after he was found abandoned. He was scared, underfed, and didn't trust anyone." He paused. "Now he's the happiest, most confident cat I've ever known. And that's because someone gave him a chance at peace." Admiral Kethron was struggling. Daniel could see it in the way the alien's massive hands kept flexing, in the way his eyes kept darting between Daniel and the cat. This is your weapon?" "No, this is my friend. But yes, he's also why you're going to end this siege." "Ridiculous. We are the Vraxian Empire. We have conquered 14 systems. We do not negotiate with. Mr. Whiskers meowed. It wasn't a loud sound. Cats rarely needed volume to make their point. But it was perfectly timed. A small chirping trill that somehow conveyed both curiosity and a desire for attention. Admiral Kethron's voice faltered. Did it just greet me? He's saying hello. Would you like to pet him? He's very friendly once he gets to know you. The Admiral's ready room was a stark place, all metal and military efficiency. But it felt different now with Mr. Whiskers exploring every corner, sniffing at alien technology with the careful interest of a creature investigating a new territory. You understand that I cannot simply call off an invasion because of... Kethron gestured helplessly at the cat, who had just discovered the Admiral's chair and was currently attempting to claim it as his own. Because of that. Why not? Daniel remained standing, his tone conversational. Admiral, with respect, can you explain to me why you're invading New Perth in the first place? It's strategically valuable. The mining rights alone could be negotiated. New Perth has always been open to trade agreements. The Vraxian Empire does not negotiate. We take what we need. Why? The simple question seemed to confuse Kethron. Because that is what empires do. That is what makes us strong. Mr. Whiskers had successfully claimed the Admiral's chair and was now kneading the padding with his paws, purring loudly. The sound filled the room, a biological white noise that somehow made everything feel less hostile. Daniel sat down across from the Admiral. We used to think like that too. Humans, for thousands of years we built empires, conquered territories, took what we wanted because we could. We told ourselves it made us strong. He nodded toward Mr. Whiskers. Then we domesticated cats, and dogs, and horses, and dozens of other species. We learned that the strongest relationships aren't built on conquest. They're built on mutual benefit and trust. That's weakness. Is it? Admiral, your soldiers out there, I watched them. The moment they saw Mr. Whiskers, their entire demeanor changed. They didn't become weaker. They became softer, more aware of something beyond warfare and dominance. That's not weakness. That's evolution. Kethron was silent, watching Mr. Whiskers, who had now curled up in the chair and was dozing peacefully. Your species? Daniel continued. Are you happy? Personally, do Vraxians experience joy, contentment? Or do you just go from conquest to conquest, always needing the next victory to feel secure? The Admiral's silence was answer enough. Mr. Whiskers was abandoned. Someone threw him away because he wasn't useful anymore. When I found him, he was terrified of everything. Couldn't trust anyone. Lashed out at any attempt at kindness. Daniel's voice softened. It took months of patience, of proving that I wasn't going to hurt him, before he let me close. Now he's confident, playful, happy. Because he learned that not everyone is a threat, that some beings can be trusted. The alert came 20 minutes later. Another Vraxian ship, the destroyer Merciless, was breaking formation. Admiral, the Merciless is moving toward the human colony. Captain Veckrel says if you won't finish this, he will. Kethron's face hardened. Veckrel, of course. He stood, moving toward the door. That fool will ruin everything. Mr. Whiskers chose that moment to wake up. He stretched, arching his back in that distinctive cat way, then hopped down from the chair and walked directly to Admiral Kethron. Without hesitation, he began rubbing against the Admiral's leg, purring loudly. The massive warrior froze. What is it doing? He likes you, Daniel said simply. That's how cats show affection. He's marking you with his scent, claiming you as his friend. But I was going to destroy his home world. I was going to... Kethron's voice cracked. Why would it trust me? Because he's a better judge of character than you are. He can tell that underneath the conqueror, there's someone who's tired of all this violence. Someone who wants something more. The Admiral slowly, carefully, reached down. His massive clawed hand hovered over Mr. Whiskers for a moment, then gently touched the soft fur. The cat's purring intensified. It's so soft, Kethron whispered. So fragile. How does it survive? Because beings like you protect it. That's the whole point, Admiral. Strength isn't about what you can destroy. It's about what you choose to protect. The comm crackled again. Sir, Merciless is charging weapons. They're locked onto the colony's shield generators. Kethron's hand was still resting on Mr. Whiskers' head, feeling the vibration of the purr. Daniel watched the alien's face cycle through a dozen emotions. Duty, confusion, wonder, and finally, something that looked remarkably like peace. Tell Captain Veckrel to stand down, the Admiral said quietly. Sir, he's not responding to. Then destroy his ship. Silence on the comm. Admiral, you heard me. If Veckrel fires on that colony, he fires on Mr. Whiskers' home. And I will not allow that. Kethron looked up at Daniel, still petting the cat. No one harms this creature. No one. Sir, are you saying? I'm saying the invasion is over. All ships, full retreat. And someone get me a direct line to Earth's diplomatic corps. We need to discuss trade agreements. And he glanced down at Mr. Whiskers, and possibly how one acquires one of these cats. Daniel smiled. I think that can be arranged. The Galactic Council Chamber had never hosted a meeting quite like this one. 3 months after the New Perth incident, representatives from 47 different species gathered to witness what they were calling the Vraxian Human Compact signing. But the real star of the show wasn't any of the dignitaries. It was the cats. Specifically, a dozen cats lounging around the chamber, each one a carefully selected ambassador of Earth's most effective diplomatic corps. Mr. Whiskers held the place of honor on the main podium, sitting in a specially constructed perch next to Admiral Kethron, who had resigned his military commission to become the Vraxian Empire's first ambassador of interspecies understanding. The numbers are staggering. Ambassador Lin from Earth was presenting to the Assembly. In the 3 months since the introduction of the Feline Peace Initiative, we've seen armed conflicts decrease by 73% across all documented zones. Trade agreements have increased by 200%. And most significantly, mental health metrics for military personnel across all species have shown dramatic improvements. She pulled up a holographic display. This is scan data from Vraxian soldiers before and after interaction with cats. The red areas indicate stress hormones and aggression markers. The blue areas indicate calming endorphins and social bonding chemicals. The red-dominated scan shifted to primarily blue. 5 minutes of petting a cat produces this change. 5 minutes. A delegate from the Corthian Collective, a species resembling crystalline mantises, clicked forward. But how? My species has no evolutionary connection to Earth fauna. We process information through photonic resonance. We shouldn't be affected by mammalian cuteness triggers. Mr. Whiskers chose that moment to yawn and stretch, his paws extending to show soft pink toe beans. The Corthian delegate's crystal structure actually shimmered with what could only be described as delight. That's what we've been studying. Daniel stepped up to present. It turns out that cuteness, the big eyes, the soft features, the vulnerable but confident behavior, it's not just a mammalian thing. It triggers deep evolutionary responses tied to nurturing offspring across almost all sentient species. Cats have accidentally evolved to hit every single trigger simultaneously. He brought up another image. Mr. Whiskers making biscuits on Admiral Kethron's lap, the big warrior's face showing complete contentment. But there's more to it. Cats also represent something profound. They're proof that the strong can coexist peacefully with the vulnerable. That predators can choose companionship over conquest. Every time a warrior, a soldier, a conqueror pets a cat, they're reminded that true strength includes gentleness. Admiral Kethron stood, and Mr. Whiskers immediately climbed onto his shoulder, perching there like the world's fluffiest parrot. The human brought Mr. Whiskers to my flagship because they understood something we Vraxians had forgotten. We built our empire on the belief that showing any softness was weakness, that caring for something small and vulnerable made us less than we were. He gently stroked Mr. Whiskers, who purred loud enough for the microphones to pick up. But caring for this creature hasn't made me weak. It's made me complete. For the first time in my military career, I understand why we fight. Not for territory or resources or dominance. We fight to protect moments like this, to create a universe where small, vulnerable things can exist safely. The Vraxian Empire is hereby announcing the complete restructuring of our military doctrine. Kethron continued. We will maintain defensive capabilities, but our resources will be redirected toward what we're calling protective peacekeeping. We will be the shield that guards the vulnerable, not the sword that threatens them. A murmur went through the assembly. The Vraxian Empire had been one of the most aggressive military powers in known space for 3 centuries. This was unprecedented. And, Kethron added, his massive clawed hand carefully cradling Mr. Whiskers, we are formally requesting that humanity establish a feline exchange program. We wish to adopt these creatures across our worlds, to learn from them, to be changed by them. Ambassador Lin smiled. The program is already approved. In fact, we have 12,000 cats ready for adoption across Vraxian space. All rescues, all looking for homes, all perfect exactly as they are. Daniel watched the assembly's reaction. Some species were nodding in approval. Others looked skeptical. But then a delegate from the Zelthian sovereignty, a species that had been in a border dispute with the Vraxians for 2 decades, approached Kethron hesitantly. May I pet your cat? Kethron looked at Mr. Whiskers, who gazed back with those luminous green eyes, then did his signature slow blink, the cat kiss that meant trust and affection. Of course. The Zelthian reached out with their manipulator tentacles, gently touching Mr. Whiskers' fur. The cat leaned into the touch, purring intensifying. It's incredible, the Zelthian whispered. I feel peaceful. We have several cats looking for homes in your system as well, Daniel offered. If you're interested. Our border dispute, the Zelthian said, still petting Mr. Whiskers. It seems trivial now. Admiral Kethron, would you be willing to negotiate a joint development zone? With shared custody of whichever cats we adopt. Kethron's face split into what might have been the first genuine smile Daniel had ever seen from a Vraxian. I would like that very much. And just like that, a 20-year conflict ended. Not with weapons, not with threats, but with a cat who had started life abandoned and alone, and who now sat at the center of interstellar peace, purring contentedly as former enemies became friends. Daniel pulled out his communicator and snapped a photo. Later, he'd upload it to the database with a simple caption. Mr. Whiskers, diplomat extraordinaire. Humanity had brought a rescue cat to a war zone, and somehow, impossibly, wonderfully, it had changed everything. 5 years later, Daniel stood in his apartment on Earth, watching the news with Mr. Whiskers curled up in his lap. And today marks the anniversary of what historians are calling the Whiskers Accord. The news anchor was saying, what started as one human bringing one cat to a conflict zone has become the Galactic Feline Initiative, with over 3 million cats now living across 47 different species' home worlds. Armed conflicts have decreased by 91%, and the Vraxian Empire has become one of the leading advocates for peaceful exploration and cross-species cooperation. The screen showed footage of Admiral Kethron, now Ambassador Kethron, opening a cat sanctuary on the Vraxian homeworld. Hundreds of cats prowled among alien flora, utterly confident, utterly safe, with Vraxian citizens watching them with expressions of wonder and contentment. Mr. Whiskers has become the most famous cat in galactic history, the anchor continued. His image is used in peace negotiations, his story is taught to children of every species, and he has single-handedly proven that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our military. It's our ability to recognize that the smallest creatures can teach the biggest lessons. Daniel scratched behind Mr. Whiskers' ears. You hear that, buddy? You're famous. Mr. Whiskers opened one eye, gave Daniel a look that clearly said he'd known he was important all along, and went back to sleep. The communicator buzzed. Another assignment. This time it was the Andorian system, where 2 species were engaged in a territorial dispute that had been escalating for months. Looks like they need us again, Daniel said. What do you think? Feel like saving the galaxy one more time? Mr. Whiskers stretched, yawned, and hopped into his carrier without argument. He knew the routine now. They'd go, he'd be adorable and perfectly himself, and somehow everything would be okay. Because that's what cats did. They didn't try to be weapons or tools or anything other than exactly what they were. And somehow that was enough. More than enough. It was everything. As Daniel prepared for departure, he thought about all the species they'd helped, all the conflicts resolved, all the warriors who'd learned that true strength meant protecting the vulnerable rather than exploiting them. All because humans had figured out thousands of years ago that living with cats made us better. And now, the whole galaxy was learning the same lesson.